September of my sophomore year, that time of season when autumn loses its novelty and cold begins to set in. The night before a weekend cross-country meet, with my parents out of town and my 16th birthday still months away, I realized I had no way to get to school early the next morning to catch the 6:30 a.m. teen bus. I handled the situation as I had so many times before, with my usual insight and proactive approach, which is to say I ignored it, ate ramen for dinner, and stayed up late watching trashy TV, only to realize with dismay at 11 o'clock that the issue had not solved itself. Too late in the evening to call anyone for a ride, I bemoaned my fate, stomped around my house, and finding on that old staple of adolescent transportation, my bicycle. I woke up at 5 a.m., packed a bag, and headed out into the darkness. I can remember that ride vividly. Drops of rain stung at my face. The headlights of oncoming cars blinded me as they went past. I spent the entire trip cursing the weather and my stupidity and my lack of planning. It still surprises me today that I arrived at school safely and in time to catch the bus. I went off to the meet, windswept, wet, and cold, a sharp contrast to my warm, chauffeured teammates, who were still rubbing the sleep from their eyes when they asked, "What happened to you?" At first, I viewed the story as a parable about the value of hard work, how we can all succeed on our own if we put our minds to it, knuckle down, and give our best effort. But the more I thought about my bike ride, the less that seemed the case. The theme of the story is not the value of hard work. If it were, I could have told a much longer, more boring tale about sleepless nights spent studying for tests or writing essays. Completing 4 years of high school takes high levels of resolve and commitment. Making it to graduation, being here at Ravinia tonight, shows that we all know the value of hard work. The theme of this story is the value of the unusual path. I've come to school early on weekend mornings too many times to count, but I cannot recall a single other commute nearly as memorable. The vast majority of these trips follow the same paths, down the same roads, listening to the same radio station. As miserable as that cold, dark bike ride felt in the moment, 2 years later, it's one of the memories. The high school experience, like every other experience, can be described as a journey, a trip through places we had to get to. On a typical day, we had to get to school, then get to first period class, then get to second, and so forth. After school, we had to get to rehearsal, or get to practice, or get to a job, or get home. Sometimes the places we needed to get to were not even tangible locations. On a school night, we had to get finished with homework, or get prepared for a test. Even without movement through space, we follow a path toward an ultimate goal. When I entered Deerfield High School as a freshman, after a few times being late or showing up to the wrong classes, I figured out the usual path. These were the most efficient, the fastest, or the safest. Cut through the courtyard if it's open. Avoid the gridlock at the intersection of E and F Hall on the way to homeroom. Get out of PE quickly to get a good spot in the cafeteria line. Once the usual paths were mastered, I navigated the school with ease and arrived rhythmically at my destinations. But after days, months, and years, the usual paths blur in my memory. Everybody has their morning rituals, but how many of us can remember a specific morning where nothing out of the ordinary happened? I've learned that the stories and experiences I value most are the ones that happen along an unusual path. When I took a wrong turn, or got from here to there on a bike in the rain. The unusual paths are 20-mile trips to Steak and Shake at midnight, or a long run that grows longer because you follow garage sale signs for a mile detour, or a swerving walk through the hallways with your arms held horizontally because there's no one around and it seems like a fun thing to do. These are the things I remember. These are the experiences we need to seek out in life. Sometimes, this is as easy as taking an unplanned detour in a car. Other times, it can be difficult and frightening. It means leaving our comfort zone, exposing ourselves to risk. We fear we may get lost in the twists and turns and never make it to our goal. The usual paths will tempt us with ease of travel, But they won't offer the breathless wonder or soaring joy that makes life truly great. The lessons and triumphs and vivid memories are found on the unusual paths. Building this theme into its structure, my speech will now take an unusual path. The standard format for graduation speeches is to look backward, often with some sort of anecdote, check, and then look toward the future. But if you're like me, you've thought about and been questioned about the future ad nauseum. So, on our unusual path from the past to the future, I urge you to take a stop in the present, like right now. This is one of those huge, once-in-a-lifetime moments, and there are 17 million details to be appreciated. Take in the weather, the feel of the chair, the whispered conversation with the classmate next to you, the balance of this really rather ridiculous cardboard hat. All of these things matter. All of these things are road signs on our unusual paths. Go out of your way to imprint them into your mind right now, and they will stay with you for the rest of your life. There is no such thing as a typical high school experience. These past 4 years have been so determined by the friends we made and our individual successes and failures that each of our stories is wonderfully atypical. However, a constant throughout all these tales is the fantastic education we received. I don't need test scores or newspaper rankings to prove that Deerfield is a remarkable place. I know it from the brotherhood I feel as a member of the cross-country team, or the individual attention I got from teachers who loved what they were teaching and were determined to share their enthusiasm with me. And I know I only witnessed a fraction of what the high school has to offer. We have all found signs, and I daily feel blessed for the opportunities presented to me at Deerfield High School. Because we have received such a superb education, I have complete faith that we, the class of 2013, will succeed at whatever we undertake. Here today are future doctors, lawyers, business owners, electrical engineers, authors, teachers, virtually every imaginable career, and plenty of unimaginable ones. My fear is not that this class won't find success. My fear is that we will find it too quickly and too predictably. There are those among us today whose paths will take them around the world on adventures, an unusual path on a grand scale. But there's another type of unusual path. It requires only open eyes and ears and a willingness to welcome change. An unusual path is impossible to predict. It will happen at your job. It will happen in college. It will happen tomorrow. We stand on the threshold of a gigantic world filled with tremendous opportunity. Our challenge is to remain curious on a scale both small and large. Our challenge is to sometimes go perpendicular to our stated goals. Take the unusual path. Bike 4 miles in the rainy dark. Not because it is expedient, but for our own sake, for our own good. We should seek out the curving, the indirect paths, and never be afraid of taking a wrong turn. Congratulations to my fellow classmates, members of the DHS Class of 2013. I wish you tremendous luck and happiness in all your future endeavors, and I'm honored that I was able to share this unusual path with all of you.